Well, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I am your host, Michele Irby Johnson, and welcome to Life Matters with Michele. You know, it's on this platform where we talk about things that matter to us. What matters in our community? What matters to you? And I'm so excited to have this time with each and every one of you. I want to remind you that if you have any questions, feel free to drop them and then I can field them over to our wonderful guest who I would like to introduce to you right now. Welcome, Miss Vonzella Renee McQueen. Doesn't she sound rich? Sound like she got to have a rack of money somewhere.
I'll take that, Michele. I'll take it.
That's right. You know, we've rubbed elbows quite a few times. So, you know, if you get some, I want some, okay?
No problem. No problem.
All right. So again, I want to welcome my very special guest, Ms. Vonzella Renee McQueen. And today she is going to be talking about the resiliency of Black women. Mm. So men, that doesn't mean you get to drop out. That doesn't mean you get to ignore. But perhaps this conversation will help you all to better understand who you love, who you live with, who is standing next to you, who you're working with, because it's not just about us being mad, angry women. We're resilient. And so we're going to talk about that today. Let me give you a little bit of background on Miss Vonzella Renee. I love that. She sounds so rich. Miss Vonzella Renee McQueen. She is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, currently is a doctoral student of the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in Washington, D.C. She earned a master's in human resource development. We were classmates, y'all, and a certificate in project management from Bowie State University, a bachelor's in business with a focus in management and marketing from Penn State, Altoona. She currently holds the position of staff assistant to the dean of the College of Professional Studies at Bowie State, and her passion for education continues to be her driving force to an expert in the field study of organizational leadership. She has a love for cultural awareness and exploration and has been a motivational factor for her to travel the world. And this, let me tell you, this young lady is always traveling. Every time I say, where is she now? But anyway, I digress. But she travels. She travels. She is currently the chair of the Bowie State University Women's Forum, where she takes pride in helping with the advancement of women in higher education through mentorship, community outreach, professional development, and networking opportunities for all women on campus. I can go on and on and on, but one of her greatest attributes is her willingness to serve her community, and her faith is what continues to give her the balance, hope, and drive to move forward in her professional and academic career. And as a future scholar in the world of academia, she hopes to teach, be a mentor, and a world-renowned motivational speaker. I tell you, we're almost like twins. Say hi to the people, Vonzella Renee.
Hello, 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 wonderful, beautiful people out there, both nationally and globally, to all my sisters and brothers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Michele, thank you, thank you, thank you for this great opportunity and this wonderful platform that you have afforded us to come and speak about different topics and to really just talk about our passion and just have real girl talk. You know, that's what it's really all about, to just talk about what the real issues are that we're all facing today. You know, one person's struggle could be somebody else's breakthrough. So you just never know the lives and the people that you may teach and reach on this platform. So thank you again for this great honor to be on your show.
I'm honored you said yes, because you are a busy woman. Let me tell y'all. I love Renee, because every time I see her, she's a blur, but she always stops and she's like, "Hi, Michele." I'm like, but you've always motivated me. We just give you all a little history. We were in class together in one of our classes, and we were partnering on a project, and her drive just really I was like, I like her. Ooh, she's me. And so I've always I've gravitated to her energy, her she has such an enthusiastic, personality. So I just love her. She's just so bubbly and very focused and intentional about everything that she does. And so I love, 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 love Miss Vonzella Renee McQueen. I'm gonna keep saying it because she is
Thank you.
amazing. She's an amazing Black woman. And yes, on this platform, we talk about what affects the Black community, all things African American, not to single anybody out, but this is who we are. And we have a lot of things that we like to discuss. And so today you said that you wanted to come and talk about the resiliency of a Black woman. What made you want to express this or share this with the people?
Well, I would say, first I had to, pray about what is it that God wanted me to really talk about. And being obedient in that way because my faith is very important to me. That's what he laid on my heart.
Okay.
We have so many things that's going on that you see that women in general are on the rise in so many different leadership positions. Specifically, as we look at Black women, we have, we wear so many masks. We wear so many hats, we do so many things, and even now, COVID-19 has pushed us to be stretched even further.
Absolutely.
Now that you have to be a professional woman, you have to be a wife, you have to be a mother, you have to be a school teacher, you have to be a regulator, you have to be a provider, a faith keeper. So it's really showing us, the strength and through the struggles, through the I can't do this anymore, we still rise above and continue to be, resilient. And so that's what was laid on my heart to really talk about, this is where we are and this is what I see in my community, in my circle, just women constantly being resilient.
Absolutely. And that is so key because we do wear um, a multitude of hats and we stack them on top, and no matter how many hats they give us, have this ability, this innate ability to carry them all with grace. Now everybody, I can't say, can do that, but the majority of Black women have this ability to carry everything on their shoulders, on their heads, on their backs with grace. And it makes me think of our ancestors
Yes.
and how they were able to be such formidable pillars in the community as Black women, working the fields, baby on the back, baby on the front, taking care of hubby, take all of these different things. And it built something in us.
Yes.
It built something in us. So when you think about that comparatively, the women then and the women now, how how do you see that marrying, and I know I gave a little bit of it, but from your perspective, how do you see the ancestry of the Black woman being played out today? How does that look to you?
Well, I'll say when I had the opportunity to go to West Africa, when I had the opportunity to go to Ghana, and I just, spoken in the atmosphere, I'm going to Africa. A lot of people were looking at me like, you crazy, you going where? I said, I'm going to Africa. And in that travel, my first travel to Africa, I learned so much, not only about the history of slavery, but also about myself.
Mm,
And there was a sense of being like I found my belonging and I was at home. When I was able to go to the slave councils, I was able to see the just the environment that women and men, my ancestors, had to live in the way they were treated, and then going through the door of no return, um, and actually being able to go back to Africa multiple times and saying, I returned, but knowing all of the struggle to be, treated as inhumane, put into different slave castles and whipped and having to live and be in feces and no light, no circulation, no air, and just looking how resilient they were during that time to go across the Atlantic Ocean to come into, the southern states, to be on auction blocks, to be sold as property and not look at as human beings, to bear children and have them snatched from you and sold into, different plantations, but you still had hope that one day I'll see my children again.
Yeah.
One day we'll be connected again. One day I shall return home. If it's not the return home for me, but my children, and
Mhm.
they'll know where they come from. And that just struck a chord in me that, knowing the struggles of, Harriet Tubman. I mean, just thinking about the Underground Railroad and what she did as a little girl, having concussions and falling out, but never giving up, and knew that she was supposed to be free.
Yeah.
And her travel to get to the place of freedom, following the stars and following God, and her intuition of the Holy Spirit and things like that. But she went to freedom, and then she came back.
Yeah.
And she did it again multiple times, getting others to freedom. And she just pushed through. And as we progress in history and looking at all the women that just pushed through, the Women's Suffrage Act, having women to vote,
Yeah.
the struggle behind that, the Black women having to fight to have a voice, to be heard, to be recognized, to be part of a society, and not just being objectivized, or, sexualized, but really playing a key part. And just looking at how we evolve now, breaking glass ceilings, busting through doors,
Yeah.
providing opportunities and ways for women to really step up and sit at tables that we were told we would never be a part of,
Right.
that we were told that we were just school teachers, or we were just going to be nannies, we were just going to be housemates, we were just going to be cooks. And now we're CEOs, we're CFOs, we are astronauts, we're lawyers, we're judges. So we are so many things, and the struggle has been so real for us over decades, that now we can really put a voice to it. It's not just a thought, but it's a reality.
Hmm.
So, with so many young women that I see, growing up, and, my mom just celebrated being 80, and listening to some of the things that she went through as a young woman during the times of slavery, and what her parents had to go through, picking cotton and having family down south, and then coming up north and seeing the difference between how they lived in the south and how they lived in the north. And for her to still be able to speak to that and still get passion and be filled and cry about what she saw just recently, as us having the first Black vice president to
Absolutely.
be selected. That is a milestone, so that lets you know how resilient Black women are. We do so much, we say so many things, we reach so many people, we continue to push, and yet and still we made it. There's still much work to be done. I can remember where I talked about eventually one day being the first Black president of the United States. I thought, doing that, and I'm pretty sure when someone was taking my story in college, and when I said that, they thought I was crazy. But look at what has happened now.
Yes.
So, if I said it then and knowing what I know now, it can happen.
It's
And
possible.
so, I just look at it, we struggle, we fight, but we're still standing. So
Absolutely. We are still standing. So, what are two or three challenges that you have had to overcome in life, and how did you overcome them? I mean, we all have a story, a testimony, but since you're the guest on today, you can give me yours and I'll give you mine. How about that?
that works just fine. I would say, I was raised by my grandparents, and both of my parents I lost at a fairly early age in my eyes. My biological father as well as my biological mom, but still having to move through, not having them around or be able to ask certain questions. As a child, you ask certain questions so you can get an understanding of your identity and where you come from, and learning how to push through that, and knowing that God provided me additional parents. So that was able to love on me, to nurture me, to give me all of the resources and the things that I need to be who I am today.
Yes.
Um, but I know that also as a doctoral student, we all talk about that, the fight and the struggle to stay motivated, to stay the course, and understanding that that too is a struggle. Um, there's only about 2% that really make it as doctoral students, and as a woman of color, and it's even harder for us. So the struggle and the fight of that, to continue to prove that I belong in the room with others, and that I belong to be on the same stage or having different experience to speak to, is a struggle.
Yeah.
You're constantly tested, you're constantly beat down, but when you have a network and you have a support group that can say, you know what, sis, keep pushing. Don't worry about it. We got you. Just, keep doing what you can. We're here to support, and we can, just let it all out.
Yeah.
um, and so, just struggling through that, because in life, you always try to understand your purpose, and knowing that everything you do is not necessarily for you, but also for the common good of others. And
Yes.
you are put on this earth to do so many great things, and just recognizing and understanding that. So
Awesome.
just working through that.
Awesome. Awesome. So, how would you describe a resilient black woman? Because in everybody's eyes it looks different. We said at the top of this hour that some people, we call ourselves resilient, whereas other people say, we're angry, or we're trying to prove something. I'm thinking about one of my favorite movies with Sanaa Lathan in it. One of the lines that she talks about is always having to pay the black tax. And so, speaking to what you just said about always having to show up and do extra and go the extra mile and all of these different things just to be peeped at, not even looked at for a long time, just for people just to glance and say, oh, I see you over there, but not to really give much credence to who you are. So describe in your mind, what is a resilient black woman? What does she look like, and what does it mean to you?
Well, a resilient black woman, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Color Purple. Um, and the one main character that you follow a lot is Celie. And you look at this young child and how she evolved in becoming her own woman, and all the struggles that she went through throughout the movie. And if you read throughout the book, bearing children to a stepfather, not understanding and know what love is, never really being accepted into a society or understanding her place, finding God, and having a relationship and building on her spiritual walk, finding peace that, that her children were okay and being well taken care of, moving into becoming her own boss, being a seamstress, having her own type of business, and then finally taking a stand and speaking up for herself and letting it be known that I have arrived. I
Hmm.
won't be silent anymore, and I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to depend on you to supply for me because I'm good.
Mm.
So a resilient woman understands and takes all of her struggles, all of her uh, imperfections, all of her shortcomings, her doubts, her fears, and she uses that as strength to continue to push forward, even when she doesn't believe in herself, even when others may not see her imperfections, but she knows what they are internally. And she uses that all to continue to move the mantle forward for whatever her destiny is. She loves unconditionally. She seeks out her own purpose as a woman, and she begins to love who she is.
Mm.
It's not unfamiliar to her to look into the mirror and say, I love you unconditionally. This woman has grace. She's able to just move and be happy, even though, she could be silent and quiet, but she just has a quiet storm about herself.
Hmm.
And she just is fearless,
Yeah.
unstoppable, unmovable. And she knows her faith, and she just holds her own. And that is a resilient woman. We all strive to be so many things, even in our imperfections. And so, but finding the courage to continue to push forward, to continue to do it despite the odds, despite the naysayers, despite the fear, that's a resilient woman.
it, and it put me in the mindset, or made me ask, how do you find that delicate balance between being a resilient woman and, trying to present yourself as a woman of strength? And I just kept hearing um, the poem Quiet Strength, with Rosa Parks. And, she was quiet. She was, she did what she had to do, but she had a quiet strength. And then there is just this, there I think it's a gifting to be able to say that you're resilient, because everybody can't fight with the struggles of life. Everybody cannot hold
No.
up to the wind at their back. And so I believe that being a resilient woman means that you're able to have that balance of struggle and strength,
Mm,
weakness and wherewithal, and still being able to push through. And whether they see the tears in your eyes or the blood on your brow, it doesn't matter. You know that you have an end goal. And so I'm thinking also about the Proverbs 31 woman. When you
mm,
started naming all these things that she was, I'm running in my head Proverbs 31. Okay, she rises early in the morning, she takes care of her family, and that's who I saw was the Proverbs 31 woman. I said, that's a resilient woman. She works, she's in the marketplace, she's all over the place, but she is able to balance everything, like you said, with grace. And I think some people get bothered by women
yeah.
who are able to balance. People have told me seemingly all my life, or I'll say most of my adult life, that I do too much. You just do too much. I said, you just mad because I can do so much. How about that? And so, because I have I don't know where, well, I know it comes from God, but I've always had this ability to balance a million things. When I tell people, what I'm doing, even in this pandemic, full-time job, pastor, wife, you know, teacher, professor, all of these different things, and I don't look tired. I said, the camera's on right now, Hunty. But the point is, just such as yourself, I believe when you know that God has given you something to do in terms of purpose and passion, those things about being tired and mocked and scorned and all those things, they kind of become a catalyst. Am I right?
Yeah, and another in 2013. Prior to coming to Bowie State University, I used to work for Head Start in Baltimore for about 8 years. So I had a background in early childhood education. So I was already, without formally being a formal educator, I was already an educator, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Um, and so in that moment, there was some transitioning funding, defunding of programs. And so our delegate who was overseeing the program lost the contract. And so therefore that put people in a predicament as we are kind of in COVID-19 without jobs, right? Even as mergers happen, you always see some people are able to merge over to the new company and some people aren't. And I was one of those who just wasn't. And so I found myself in 2013 with something was so familiar to me. Now, I'm without a job
Mm,
and going through, I found myself in a place of Job.
mm,
I found myself losing everything. Right after prior to, losing my job, my mom dies in 2012. And after that, then taking on the responsibility of caring for my grandmother, having her move in, not really having a job. So all of these things were happening. And I found myself in a very peculiar place, really a place of prayer and seeking out, well, what's next for me? I had a home. My home was everybody's house. So I could go to work and, I let my aunt and my nephew stay there, and everybody loved this house. It was a everybody house. I didn't have to be there for everybody to be there. It was an everybody house. So even in looking at that, so if you're not working, you can't pay your rent, correct?
right.
Right. So I found myself even in the midst of that, not being able to pay the rent, but I still had grace because I wasn't homeless. I wasn't put out.
Praise God.
And knowing that, I still had grace in the sense that my landlord was still working with me. And as you know, the story of Job, Job lost a lot of things, but he never turned his back on God. He never renounced God for all that he went through. He never said, I can't take this anymore. I mean, with one transgression after another, one thing after another, Job still never lost his faith.
Right.
And so I made a promise to God that no matter what happens to me and how it all unfolds, I was going to trust you in all of it. I was going to trust you in all of it and just allow you to order my steps. So I knew that the loss wasn't just the house and the job, there was going to be others, but I still was going to trust you in the midst of that. So I ran into a couple of my old coworkers and they said, Renee, you look so good. You glowing. I said, yeah, how's everything doing? I said, well, I'm doing just fine. Everything is good. Currently wasn't working, but you couldn't tell.
I know that's right.
You couldn't see that I was without, that I didn't have, that I was struggling. I still had his grace. And so I continued to move forward in that. And so when you go through and you are struggling a lot, he gives you grace and he gives you mercy and he still, provides you with that covering, that security blanket.
Yes.
And so I had that. I had that security blanket on my life for a long time. And in some instances, didn't realize it, didn't understand it. But oh, how I understand now.
My God.
I understand. And I understand that, being uncomfortable is okay.
Yeah.
It's actually a good thing.
Hmm.
And so, in the midst of that, losing job, losing house, losing car, just lost everything. But he said he promised to restore. and he's going to restore it better than what you had before.
Yes.
And I thank God for restoration because he restored a whole lot of things and they are totally, totally better than before.
Wow. I know that's right. He told Job, he didn't tell him, he showed him, he gave him double. Essentially,
Mhm.
he gave him double for his trouble. We have a question from the audience. We have several, but I'm going to try and pick one. Um, the first one I'm going to read, it says, well, how does a Black woman redefine and reframe resiliency to break down barriers with grit and with grace? And I think one thing you said first was prayer and faith
Yeah.
in God. So,
So, as I said before, for me, my faith in God, and everybody has a different belief, um, you know, and whatever that is for you, um, tap into that.
mhm.
And I always tell people, trust the process.
That's it right there.
I had to, for a lot of things that I've been through in my life and going through barriers and struggles, I had to trust the process. Didn't understand it. Didn't say anything about understanding. I said trusting.
Yeah.
And trusting different things, that's having faith and understanding that it will get better. So what I realized from a lot of ancestors and even looking at slavery, they had faith.
Yeah.
They trusted that it was going to get better even in the midst of everything that they were going through. They sang, they danced, they prayed.
Yeah.
They knew that it was going to come a day where what they were in was going to be no more, but they had faith and trusted. And so for the person that sent you, you got to trust. Barriers are there meant to be broken, but you have to do the work. You got to be committed. You have to be intentional. You have to seek out the difference in being better as a woman. Sometimes sitting with uncomfortable things and addressing them, even when you don't want to, or you can't avoid and keep hiding and suppressing things that is going to be those things that's going to be between you and your breakthrough. You
That's right.
got to address it. So having the faith and continue to push through.
All right. I'm gonna read another one. This one says, how do you deconstruct negative stereotypes, such as being weak among Black women in America and in the world?
Oh, well, what I'm also learning as we look at um, how we are evolving as a Black woman. And some of those questions I ask myself, if I see my sister and I see she's doing great things and I want to support and I want to be a supporting factor in that. And I say, hey, sis, I'm here for you, and lending a helping hand. But not all the time do I get a good positive response. Be like, thank you, sis. I think with a lot of things that we face as Black women, as I say, going back to whether it's family issues, whether it's personal issues, those things sometimes prevent us from really embracing true sisterhood or true support from each other. We know that when we get into spaces and places and we look to our left and our right, and that we see that we're the only ones, but we talk about we want others at the table with us, right?
Yeah.
And when it's time to open those doors to have your sisters to come in to sit, you don't do that.
Mm-mm.
And so we have to work on getting past some of those, I would say, insecurities. And
Yeah.
those insecurities are not necessarily the insecurity that she coming in to take my job, but the insecurity starts with you. And a lot of our progression as who we are as individuals start with your internal person. You
Yeah.
got to love yourself and deal with those internal issues to the core in order for you to be intentional, in order for you to really recognize and have that aura, that girt,
Mm.
that resiliency. And so even as a resilient black woman, it requires you to peel that onion.
Yeah.
And we know with onions that makes you cry, but
Mhm.
crying is not a
We,
sense of weakness,
mm-mm.
but a sense of breakthrough, a release. And so once we get to the point that we understand and go through that process of releasing, then we will be open to embrace.
Awesome, awesome. Something I thought about, and while you were saying that, I said competition creates a whole nother level of resilience. And so when you said something about trying to help your sister out and trying to be at the table with each other, there's something I think that we need to learn as a sisterhood about sisterhood in terms of just because I'm doing it doesn't mean you can't do it in your space. Just because I have it doesn't mean that you can't have it and do it in your tribe or what have you. And I think we've got to get away from, you know, trying to think that because somebody's doing something that they think they're better than we are. Well, when essentially, yes, your thought process that you're trying to now superimpose onto somebody else. So I think we don't do a very good job as sisters in being genuine and authentic when we say, go, sis, go. And I would love to believe that when someone's telling me, Pastor Michelle, whatever they are calling me, depending on what title I'm walking in at that particular moment, that when they're saying it, that they really mean it. And they're not just saying it so they can turn their back and be like,
Right.
she go again. And I think that has built so many layers of resilience in me because for whatever reason, help me God, for whatever reason, I have people who just don't like me, who don't even know me. I mean, they know of me, they've gone to church with me, or they've seen me or whatever, but they've never sat down over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and asked me, who is Michele? I mean, really, who is she? They see me on camera, they see me doing this, they see me in the military, they see all of these different facets of who I am, but they don't like me, but they've never had an opportunity or taken an opportunity to get to know me. And so I think for me, that has made my skin tough. That has made me tenacious and resilient because I'm like, I'm not here. I am not here to please you. And if you don't like me, that's not my issue. That's more so your issue. And so I think that those experiences have
Yes.
built resilience in me. And I'm sure you can say the same. But I think as sisters, we have to do a better job of loving who the other person is and who they're evolving into without feeling some kind of way because they're becoming.
Well, the thing is, and that's great too, Michele, because I do have a lot of haters out there,
Yeah.
who, really don't like me but don't know me, but when you talked about, loving and being intentional in loving, love starts with you first.
Yes.
I cannot love my sister nor my brother or be in a relationship with a partner if I don't love myself first.
Absolutely.
And so, how can I recognize and be happy for you when I'm not even happy for myself?
Or with myself.
So, right. And so, in order to get to that place, and like I said, you have to be intentional. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations with yourself, and even with the hats and the masses we wear so well. We
So
have to take them off and really begin to do the work. The work of the struggle, yes, for us to arrive in certain leadership positions and break the ceilings and the doors, that's great. But there's still more work for us to do internally in
yeah,
order for us to continue to support and truly have the love and the care for us as sisters. Because as you said, understanding sisterhood and what it is, the old African proverb, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you are. And
Yeah,
so, as you move and matriculate through life and develop, you're held accountable for how you treat those you're surrounded by and those that you encounter. And that is a sister and that is a brother. We
absolutely.
all watch each other from afar grow and develop, and we watch that and see how you maneuver through so many challenges and how you stay firm and stay the course. But at the same time, it's not wrong for you to ask the question, to seek out the knowledge, to really build the relationship. But in order for that to happen, it has to start with you first.
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of, African American women, I can't speak for any other races or cultures. I think we self-sabotage our own resilience.
Hmm.
If I can even say that, because when there's this opportunity for you to gird yourself up, to get strength, to say, you know what, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be stronger. I feel Marvin Sapp, better, stronger, wiser, and all of those different things. You know, rather than taking those things, taking the bumps and the bruises, and come along with just being being in life or what have you. I think we self-sabotage because we would much rather criticize or judge somebody else, particularly another sister, rather than, like you said, look in the mirror and say, you know what can I do about me? What internal work can I do to make me resilient to external forces, even my own forces? Because again, sometimes we're our worst critic and we can't move forward because we're so busy looking at everybody else instead of looking at who we are and who we need to be. And I think it's just a testament to those of us who are resilient to look back and say, you know what? If I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be here. If I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be here. Or this situation built some stock in me.
Right. And that's the thing that also, everybody's experience speaks something to their resilience in their own right. I
Yes.
cannot say that what you went through didn't make you resilient,
Mm,
didn't make you a better person, didn't help your development. Who am I to speak that? Because that's your experience. I
absolutely.
can't. But what I can say is that even in the midst of our failures, we have to look at those as lessons learned and
Yes.
how we apply those lessons in growing as women and helping other sisters to grow or to share a knowledge base. Hey, sis, you may want to rethink that because I've been down this road and I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
But when you sit there and you say nothing and you judge someone for the choices or the things that they do, that makes you that doesn't make you a part of the solution. That makes you more of the problem.
Yeah.
And so, us as Black women, we had to think about how we can be more solution driven and how we support each other in an intentional way. Because every sister is coming into her becoming, and
Yeah.
every sister has a story. And every story is important because it speaks life into who we are and how we can continue to move the leverage forward. But it takes a village.
Mm.
It takes a village to raise a child. So, what makes you think it doesn't take a village to continue to keep our sisters in the forefront?
Come on now.
Even as a sister, I may not be the one that's supposed to be at the top, but my work is to be at the bottom doing the grassroots work, like Stacey Abrams.
My.
Sister, like, listen, I might have lost this one, but I'm gonna show y'all what I can really do.
Mm.
And I'm gonna show you how I do it. I'm gonna do it so well that you're gonna question, how did I do it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have no problem telling you how, but just understanding we all have a role to play in being resilient women and lifting each other up. When you look at ants and how they pass things along and getting crumbs, it's a process, but every ant has a role.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play and to continue to be resilient Black women and supporting one another. Our roles may not always be where our sister is or going. Our role may be being at the bottom, talking to others, encouraging others. It might be on the middle level, developing more, creating that pipeline, moving that hatchet forward. So
Mm-hmm.
we all have different roles that we must play in the whole thing of being resilient and being black, being proud to be a strong black woman. Yes, we can be a little bossy. Yes, we can be a little sassy.
A little bit.
Yes, we might be misunderstood. Yes, we are not just angry. We're passionate.
Yeah.
We have voice. We just want to move and have a place where we can be heard and do that black girl magic thing.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are. And
Mm-hmm.
we all possess it. Not just you, Michelle, not just Vonzella, but we all possess that black girl magic.
Yes.
So we got to walk with it.
Absolutely. You were talking about the team. I thought about, you talked about the ants, and I thought about teams. People always say teamwork makes the dream work, but I also
Yes,
think about team as an acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. And
that's right.
I think if we all got on board with one another, in life, then we would all be better. I made it a choice. I was very intentional over the past 2 months to go on Facebook. I've been on Facebook, but to go on Facebook and to invite other people to be my friend. Don't know them, but I read a little bit about them in their little profile or whatever, because I have to expand who I am by expanding those that are connected to me. And I'm like, if they see me and I have something to offer, then amen. If I see them and they have something to offer, then amen. Because in my mind, I'm thinking together, everyone achieves more. If I stuck to my little 500 friends, seriously, I only had like 527 friends on Facebook. Now I'm up to over 1,000, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith and reach out to all of these women. They were mainly women, and see how we can do more. You may not be, we all may be coaches, but what kind of coach are you? Are you transformative? Are you motivational? Are you women? Are you this? I'm survivor coach. What are you doing? How can we, pool our strengths and be a resilient nation within this nation, of Black unstoppable women? And so I'm just so excited about who we are. Now, let me ask you this last question. We're coming down the pipe. How do we start to? Because I know at BSU you're part of the women's forum. How do we start to mentor our young Black ladies to become strong, resilient Black women? Because now what we see is them emulating the people who are twerking, the people who are half dressed, the people who are trying to get over by doing the unthinkable, or just manipulating their way into wherever they want to be, or just they're not doing it the right way. And so when they crash and burn, everything is at a loss. And so how do you, outside of, I already know we pray, we fast, we do all those things. Help us to understand, how do we take these young ladies, college ladies and below, how do we take them to a posture of a resilient mindset? How do we do that? What does that look like?
So the first thing that we need to do is listen.
Mm,
You know, we are so quick to accuse and say what they're not doing, what it looked like. That's not ladylike. That's not this. But you never had a conversation to listen and hear their story.
yeah, yeah,
We're so quick to judge, but we're slow to listen.
yeah,
And that's where we make the mistake. We have to listen and have a conversation with them. And mostly young people today, they want to be heard.
yeah,
They're tired of being told what they're not. They're tired of being told what they can't do. So they go out and they do what they feel as though is right in their own minds, in their own spirit, and in their own way, right?
mhm,
So we must listen, and then in that, coach them in a way that you got to meet them where they are, in order to bring them up to a
absolutely,
certain standard class, of, pride, of, really showing them some things, because not everybody was afforded to be in a two-parent household, or to have a parent that really cared and nurtured and loved and poured these things in. These young folks are dealing with so many different things that in our lifetime we've never dealt with. We
Exactly.
can't even begin to say we understand, because we don't. Under and we have to be able to say that, I you can't say you relate if you never experience. Can't say you understand if you don't know. So you really have to tap into where they are, where they're trying to go, and create that safe haven space that they can trust you.
Yeah.
Because, even with sisterhood, we got to trust each other. And that speaks a lot of volumes to why we look and think and suck our teeth. Oh, she thinks she better and this and that, and have no clue, because we don't trust.
Right. Right.
So we have to listen. We must trust. We have to be available,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
We talked about availability. If we say we're going to do something, then we need to do it.
Yeah.
And then we have to do it with an intention, of being true to who we are, and not who we want to be to these young folks, because they can sense that. They're
Yeah.
tired of people playing them. They're tired of people acting like they care and they don't. And so that goes back with the trust. And so then not only that, but then we have to include them.
Yeah.
You know, they have magic too. They know how to do a whole lot of things that we're just learning. They have a whole lot of knowledge base that we have no clue. And
Exactly.
being able to, as adult learners, we learn that our experience speaks to how we grow and learn, but how we exchange that information is
Yeah.
so important, because that's a part of our growth and development as adults. We
Absolutely.
exchange information to learn. So we got to exchange the knowledge. They have something to offer just like we do. Just because they haven't been living that as long as we have doesn't mean that they don't know. They don't have knowledge. They do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we must trust. We have to listen. We have to be available. We ought to be honest. And, just continue to mentor. If you have the time to do it, then you got to understand, what kind of mentor are you going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be that mentor that's going to be available, that's going to be committed, or you just doing it because you want to feel good,
My
that
God.
you helped somebody, that
Mm.
you said, I helped them, but they ain't want my help. Well, how intentional were you with it?
Yeah.
So just understanding who you are and how you can really be instrumental into the development of these young minds, because they have the youth, they need the wisdom.
Yeah.
And so it's up to you to figure out, well, what role are you going to play?
Yes, 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 yes. That's good. When you were talking about exchange knowledge, the next thing that dropped in my spirit was we have to exchange ourselves.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to be gullible, not gullible, excuse me, we have to be vulnerable enough
Yeah.
for them to see our mistakes and to tell them what we did and didn't do right. Because nobody wants a plastic mentor. They want somebody, seriously, they want somebody that has walked where they are. They want
Yeah.
somebody that is relatable. Because
Yes.
there's, if you've never been an alcoholic, I can't talk to you. But
Right.
I've been an alcoholic, so I can talk to the alcoholics. I can talk to people who are struggling about drinking. I can talk to people, so you have to be able to show that vulnerable side of yourself where
Yeah.
you can start building that rapport when they're like, oh, so we have something in common. Paul
Yeah.
said, I became all things to all men that I might in some way win some. And so sometimes you have to show people your scars.
That's
You
it.
have to show them where it hurts,
Yeah.
particularly our millennials and below, so they can see, oh, she made it, so
Hmm.
can I. Or maybe she can help walk me through this rough patch in my life. She can help walk me through issues with education and relationships and this and body image and all. So it's amazing it is an amazing opportunity that I think we miss
Oh
um,
yeah.
when it comes to shaping the lives of people, whether they be our age or 20s and 30s, or I don't know how old you are, Vonzella Renee, or 12 or whatever. I'm getting ready to kiss 55. So, it's
You look good, Michelle. Look good.
thank you. And so I think it's incumbent upon us, like you said, to be available. But more importantly, or just as important, is that we exchange ourselves so that we can show people how to be resilient.
Yep.
We can let them see in real life what resiliency looks like for a Black woman.
Yes. And sometimes you got to do those things. As one of my colleagues in my doctoral program, this was her time to do it afraid.
Yep.
Sometimes, you have to do those things and do it, as you be fearless. You don't know the unknown, the uncertainty of certain things, and trusting the process to get through, but also just realizing that you can do it no
Yeah.
matter how long it takes you, or no matter what the struggle, the stride may be, is attainable, right?
Yes. Yes.
And also just being vulnerable is very important. Peeling back that onion and showing people who you are. This is who I am. I can't be who you want me to be because that's not me.
Right.
One of the things that Michelle Obama talked about in her book In Becoming, she did not want to live in the shadow of her husband. She didn't want to be noticed or just recognized as Barack Obama's wife or just the first lady. She wanted to have her own identity. This is who I am. This is who I'm becoming. This is who I'm developing into. I
Hmm.
didn't want to, even as partners, sometimes when we get married, we become one, and then we get overshadowed with some things and we lose who we are as individuals, as women,
Yeah.
because of the roles that we take on. And
Mhm.
so, as Michelle talked about that she wanted to stay true to her identity of who she was as a woman, as a mother, as a philanthropist, and as a first lady, but understanding she didn't want to live in the shadows of someone else. And
Mhm.
so understanding that too, as we become resilient, you don't have to live in the shadow. You can create your own shadow. You don't have to live in that. You can be and become whoever and whatever you want to be. I think so many times we worry about that, living up to certain expectations and being certain people that we're not, just because our parents want us to be, or because our loved ones and things. So I always talked about too, do things from your core. What
Mhm.
does your core say?
Yeah.
What does the core tell you? The core is who you are at the beginning, at the center of all things. And from that center, you branch out. You go into different spaces and places, and you volunteer, you mentor, you love on, you mother, you just do so many things, but you have to recognize that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think about too.
Well, this has been an amazing, amazing, amazing segment. Our time is spent. I tell you, it felt like we've been on here for 10 minutes, but we've been on here for an hour. But I just want to thank you for joining me today. Vonzella Renee McQueen, and I thank you for just being such a wonderful guest, and so giving so much information, guidance, and wisdom. God knows you gave some wisdom. And for those of you who would like to catch the replay, please visit my YouTube channel, Life Matters with Michele TV Official. Go out there and like, share, and of course subscribe. And then I'm also picking up guests for next year, June. I'm booked all the way up until June, y'all. Ain't God good?
That's
Yes,
a good
you are.
that's a good thing.
So,
Go ahead, sis.
yes, yes, yes. So if you would like to be a guest on the show starting in June, Please, ma'am, please, sir, reach out to me at www.iam-mij.com. That's www.iam-mij.com. And just, hit the contact us button and click on Life Matters, and then just send me a note. And if you want to be on the show, just let me know. We talk about all things Black community and what matters to us. I want to thank my very special guest one more time, Miss Vonzella Renee McQueen. Thank you so much, my dear sweet sister. I love you so much. You all can also hear this broadcast on Fridays at 4 o'clock on sensationalsoundsradio.net. So we just all over the place. I tell
Oh,
you,
look at you. I'm scared of you.
somebody gonna pick me up. I tell you, we're gonna be
That's
a
right, they will.
real show.
We're gonna speak that into existence.
Speaking it in the atmosphere. Somebody's
That's
gonna pick
right.
up Life Matters with Michelle. But I want to thank you once again, Vonzella Renee McQueen, for coming on and for just joining me and making this another amazing show. Thank you to all of our listeners, our viewers, those who commented. Thank you so much for coming on and just being a part of our audience. This has been Life Matters with Michelle. I am your host, Michele Irby Johnson. Thank you again for tuning in, for watching, for catching up. And we will see you again next time. Be blessed and have a great day.
Thank you.